Yeah, I know, right? Hold up. Is Minnie frozen? Are you
He's just
frozen?
really
Minnie?
good at staying still. Oh, there you go.
Minnie's frozen. All right, cool. All right, man. What's going on, everybody? We the MulTYversed. I'm Bad Ty Bricks here with Holly Noon, Mini Baby Grogu, and Tyrone Thornhill, back with another hot, fresh week of content. It is so good to see you guys, as it is every week. We go through this every week. I just, my emotions seem to run over and run over and run over just with the excitement that I get when I get to team up with my super team. I feel like we're the Avengers, guys. I don't know which role I'm gonna play, but I really feel like the Avengers this week, man. Tyrone, if we were the Avengers, who would you be?
Jarvis. No, I feel like I'd want to be. I feel like I'd want to be Thor. You can't ask for much more than being Thor. I mean, like, you're a literal god, a literal deity. Just you got the Bifrost. You go wherever you want, whenever you want. Strongest Avenger. That's what I'd be looking for.
Okay, all right, Thor. All right, God of Thunder. Holly, if you could be any Avenger, because I feel like we're the Avengers. So, what Avenger would you be?
Scarlet Witch.
The Scarlet Witch.
Nice.
Okay, now which version of this Scarlet Witch are you?
Okay, so WandaVision. So I'll be Wanda before she goes to the dark side. So Wanda and Avengers Infinity Wars, she starts to tap in that she's like really strong and there's something there. Yeah.
All right, cool. I could dig it because I thought for a minute you was just gonna mind control us all into being minions. And we could never get out of the trap. So I was fearful of black and white television for the rest of my life. I can't do it. I'm sorry.
Before Vision dies. Wanda before Vision dies.
Mini Baby Grogu family, what's going on, man? What Avenger would you be if we were the Avengers right now? Which I feel like we are, by the way.
Rocket Raccoon.
Rocket.
Is he a raccoon? Isn't he? He's a
trash panda.
Is he a raccoon? Isn't he? He's a trash panda.
That's a way better name for it. For sure. So I'll take Trash Panda. I'm taking Trash Panda.
Okay. All right. So now that we know that Minnie's going to be Rocket Raccoon, I think I'm gonna have to say that I want to be Black Panther, man. I gotta be Black Panther. I gotta be Black Panther. I gotta be in Wakanda. I gotta run the country the right way, and I gotta make some things happen. As the king of you, Tyrone, you made a point. You was like, "Ooh, I mean, I'm a god, but you're not the king of Wakanda." You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to be the king of Wakanda, and bring light skin back in. I'm trying to bring light skin back in, all right? Because I feel like there's been a lot of dark skin on the come on, and there's nothing wrong with that, but let me in, just let me in. All right. But whatever, man. We got a great show this week, y'all. We're gonna be talking about Juneteenth. Obviously, today is not Juneteenth, that is this weekend. But we want to give our thoughts on it and kind of talk a little bit about it, see how you're going to be celebrating. And just kind of get an idea of the temperature. So let's get started, man. I'm gonna go ahead and top this off with this question right here, guys. What is Juneteenth? Holly, what is Juneteenth?
So Juneteenth marks the day when federal troops arrived in Galveston, Texas. So this is in 1865, which is 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, to basically with forces to make sure that all the people in Texas were freed. So Juneteenth honors like the end of slavery in all of the United States, and it's considered one of the longest running African American holidays in the U.S. And it became an official federal holiday last year, June 17th, 2021.
Oh, wow. Thank you for that bit of knowledge because Tyrone, I'm curious. Did you know what Juneteenth represented prior to it being spoken about, on television and on networks and things like that?
Yes, but only because of Black Twitter. Once that's where I got my education on Juneteenth. Whenever July 4th would roll around, you would get that segment of people that's like, nah, this ain't my July 4th. My July 4th is, June 19th. And I was like, okay, let's find out more about this. And then I was like, well, damn. It's one of those things that they don't just teach you in school, or that, when I was coming up through school, they didn't, teach us this kind of stuff. They just kind of gloss over. They're like, here's a few dates to remember. Everything was fine. Moving on, you know what I mean? So they didn't get too deep into it. So the public school system failed me in that regard. And I learned from Black Twitter what June 19th meant to us.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your honesty because I was in the same boat. When I first heard the term Juneteenth, I had absolutely no idea what anyone was talking about. And really at the time when I heard about it, I kind of like overlooked it because I was like, I don't even, what is that? You know what I mean? Whatever. And now this is kind of where we're at with this conversation because, like for a lot of people, we weren't educated on Juneteenth or what the significance of it meant. We were taught about the Emancipation Proclamation. So in history's memory, January 1st, 1863 was the day that all said slaves were freed by the proclamation that was signed by the executive offices of the presidency and one Abraham Lincoln. So why is it that I understand that what Holly said is it signified the end of slavery in 1865, right? That was when
just
Granger,
freeing the rest of the
Granger,
slaves because Texas wasn't complying with the Emancipation Proclamation. Yeah, with the order. So that's why they had to send armed forces to
Minnie, I want to touch base with you, man. And were you also in the same boat that me and Tyrone were, where you didn't really know about Juneteenth, or were you familiar with the term prior to you hearing about it on the news and radio?
I was, just because of I come from a background of very seriously into your blackness, black folk. So I learned about all that, but my mama taught me, but she taught me in a way that was not a celebratory way. It was more like, oh, that's just the day when they were like, hey, by the way, you motherfuckers is free. Y'all didn't even know y'all was free. Y'all been free for 2 years and y'all been working for free. You should have been getting paid, type of thing. So she never brought it to my attention as a thing to celebrate. It was more like a thing to look down upon because they were slickly having us work even though we're already free. Hello. Did you catch that?
Yeah, we caught it. Thank you, Minnie. Yeah, we're just having sound difficulties today, so we excuse us if you're in the audience and you're looking like, what do they got going on? But listen, you're absolutely correct in what you just stated as far as going through those processes of learning about stuff and then kind of finding out and making your own opinion on things. So we're here at this point now because we all had a different experience with Juneteenth in regards to the term Juneteenth. Now, what I wanted to point out to everybody in the crowd right now, basically, this is the actual order that was, I guess the last final order on June 19th, 1865, which would be now considered Juneteenth. And the order states that the people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of rights and rights of property between former master and slaves. And the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that of an employer and free laborer. The freedmen are advised to remain at their present homes and work for wages. They are informed that they will not be allowed to collect at military posts and that they will not be supported in idleness there or elsewhere. So I wanted to read that because that order right there does not really sound it in essence. The first part seems as though you are releasing someone from a contract, right? But then in the second part, although I've released you from the contract, I would suggest, strongly advise you to stay where you are, because you can't come stay. Because when they said what was it, you cannot, you're not allowed to collect at military posts, that doesn't mean collect any money. That means you can't stay here. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't stay here. And if you leave where you're at and you don't have a job or you don't have any means to get any, no one's going to help you. Am I wrong by what I just read, guys? Is there anybody that wants to tackle that?
Yeah, no, it's you're not wrong at all. I feel like the order could have stopped at absolute equality of rights, period, end. That's where it should have stopped. But you know, all of this like absolutely equality of rights, but also like, yeah, you got to still be working there or whatever. Even though your life has been ruined and you were kind of, you know, by this time you were born into this terrible life, you know, you still gotta work. You know, it's sorry. That's kind of, you know, this is why I mean, this is why we still today talk about reparations, because it was just like, hey, great news, you're free now, and then good luck.
Yeah, and that's kind of when I literally saw this, right? I read it. I was like, okay, so you freed, in terms of the first paragraph, you're telling these slaves that they're free. And I want to backtrack. You're telling these individuals that they're free. And then and so much is the same breath, you threaten them. Is that not what that is? Is that not a blanketed threat? Like, yeah, I advise you to stay at the and now it's your home. Now these are my home. Now, before, this was my captivity. This was my jail. But now the terminology changes, and so now I should look at what was my jail as now being my home, and I should stay here, because if I leave, no telling what's gonna happen to me, and nobody's gonna be here to protect you.
Right. Also, would have been a really great time to establish a federal minimum wage. You know, to be like, oh, and by the way, your wages should be X percentage of cost of living or whatever the hell it is. But like, they were just like, wages. Like, what the hell?
wages. Yeah. Like we gave. I'd like to hear from you, Minnie. Minnie, what are your thoughts on what I just read to you, which is technically the document that is what would allowed us to now have what we call Juneteenth.
Well, it's like, you know, it's the American government way, isn't it? To like let you get something, but at the same time threaten you if you try something else. It's just, you know, they've been doing that for forever. Is hey, first of all, they're gonna supposedly give us freedom where they shouldn't have to give us anything. We're already free. And then once they do that, which is ridiculous, they're like, hey, by the way, you still got to remain in the same place where you're getting your ass whooped the last 7 years. Just we're gonna pay you a little bit now, but it's gonna be the same massa, the same crops that you've been picking up. You're gonna stay in the same shitty location, with blood from last time you got whooped. You know, so it's like, you know, you know how when we talk about living wages, like he's like Tyrone said, we're not talking about living wages. They're not even telling you what kind of wages you're talking about. We're not talking about we're going to get back pay. We're not talking about any of that. It's just like, oh, we're going to pay you something. Whatever that something is, we're not even sure. It's definitely not going to be enough for you to get out of here, but it's going to be enough for you to say that you got paid. How about that? So, you know, it's nothing new. You know, it's always a backhanded thing that the government does to us, minorities, most of the time. 99% of the time, it's always a backhanded kind of giveaway that they're giving. And like he's alluded to, we're still talking about reparations. If you remember reparations, we didn't bring that up. They did. And they still ain't paid it. So that part.
You're muted, Ty.
Oh, Ty, you're muted. Hi.
I'm sorry. Ali, I wanted to throw this question at you really quick. Now, I understand that as Black people, we are taught and we have almost manifested this idea that we have to accept the small wins. The small wins, I mean, as small as they may be, they are a win. And we need to respect them and understand that it's the long game. We have to play the long game if we want to be taken seriously as a people. I don't know if you've heard any of this kind of verbiage, but this is what a lot of people think and a lot of people speak about in conversations amongst each other. Now, when you see a document and you feel like this is a moment of celebration because it ended something, but then in the same context of what you're reading, you see that this, like, although you just, you know, gave me something, it's almost like you let me know that although I just gave you something, it comes with stipulations. And these stipulations are you have to stay where you're at. Don't leave, because if you leave, I can't guarantee your safety. In essence, you can't, because back then, and we're talking the 1800s, the police force were small, were they not, Tyrone? Like the police force wasn't, it was more the military still.
Well, really, there wasn't much of a police force. A police force wasn't really a thing, really back then. And whatever forces
the people
did
they put together to chase slaves and bring them back. That is actually kind of how the police started, is to go find slaves and bring them back to their owners. So what I'll say is, I think it depends on the generation when it talks about, keep your mouth shut, accept what you can, take the small wins. It's a long game. I do think certain generations are more like, no, we got to speak up. We really got to fight the fight, fight the power, do what we got to do. But I will say, I think it's like the politics, right? It's good to say everybody has equal rights, but we know that there are systems in place to keep them down. So it's like, hey, everyone's free and equal, but I suggest you not leave where you're at, because you will suffer some repercussions that you probably don't want to suffer. And because they can't read, they can't write, it keeps them stuck in that same place and very ready to submit to the master still, regardless if they're free physically, can move how they want. I think, they don't know anything else, because that's just what they've been programmed. And so I think getting people to change that mindset, like, I mean, think about it, like the Haitian Revolution and how they fought for their independence, to say, no, we're going to overpower these people and like win our country back and do all this. It's like, it just was not our story here in America.
Thank you, Tyrone. Really quick, do you, and I know this is going to be a tough question, but I know you're a very logical person. So I wonder, do you think that the slaves in that moment, because again, this is 2 years after Lincoln has already technically freed the slaves. And a lot, and I've had discussions with people about the Emancipation Proclamation and whether or not it actually did any good. It may have done more damage than good at that particular time, because with the Confederate states not wanting to adhere to the policy of freeing the slaves, there were slave owners that looked at this, already looked at the slaves as being property, so they would just kill them. They would just kill, rather than give them over to the Union armies, they would just kill the slaves. And so like these type of things were happening ongoing for years, because again, the emancipation was in 63. This happened in 65, to a full 2 years after the fact. Do you think, and my question is, do you think that the slaves in that moment, and the individuals, again, I backtrack, the individuals felt as though they were really free in that moment?
I can't speak to what they were feeling, but if I were in that situation, I can do my best to think about what I would feel in that situation. And if I saw that, okay, now you're free with these stipulations, the idea of freedom would seem very symbolic and very abstract if my situation has not changed much. If I can't just expect to go and live a life somewhere on my own volition, doing what I want to do, where I want to do it, that kind of thing. If if my freedom doesn't necessarily allow me to start over with any kind of with any kind of advantage or anything like that, it's just, hey, congratulations, now keep doing what you're doing. I would imagine that in that moment I would have felt like, okay, yes, that's a good thing that legally we can't just be exploited for free labor, and legally we can't be beaten, murdered, sold, things like that. We know that the difference between legally and practically can be it can be a very thin line. So I imagine that that day-to-day life probably didn't change very much for a lot of people very quickly at all. And especially somewhere like Texas, where obviously they weren't very quick to to get on board with the idea of African American and African slaves being freed, and just being free people. So I'm sure that it was at best a bittersweet moment, and maybe something to help you look towards the future. But yeah, it's not like things just got great all of a sudden, and the infrastructure at the time, the way things were set up, it wasn't set up for any freedman to succeed. I mean, it was just sort of this idea that was like, here's this new idea and we'll see what happens.
I wonder, have any of you guys heard this assumption? Because there was an assumption there's been a lot of assumptions made, but have you ever heard that the Emancipation Proclamation was not really to free the slaves, but the proclamation was an act to seize the enemy's resources, because slaves were looked upon more as a resource than actual individuals, and that the idea of freeing these individuals meant that you had a greater resource now. To have any of you ever indulged that conversation, or like thought about it at all, in as far as what drove the mindsets or the reasons behind why these things were implemented? Anyone want to take a shot?
I'll do it. Yeah, I was, like I was saying beforehand, I was raised in a family. It was like, imagine some Puerto Rican Black Panthers who like are super like they're blackity black. So they don't trust nobody when it comes to government stuff. They have all the answers when it comes to who was watching who in the 80s and the 90s and how the FBI had kept tabs on this person and that person. So growing up, I always heard from my family, especially like my grandma and grandpa, that even the Revolutionary War was not even about slavery. Like the part about the South receding, that was for sure about slavery. But what they were trying to accomplish, like Lincoln didn't give a damn. Like Lincoln didn't give a damn about have slaves or not have slaves. It was all a ploy to get things done for his propaganda. That's what I've always heard as a kid. Whether it was right or wrong, I don't know. I know for a fact the South receded because of slavery. That's a fact. You can go through all the paperwork of every state, not state, but every whatever that receded. Slavery is always either the main point of why they did it or within that. What did Abraham Lincoln really give a damn about us? Probably not. You know, it was probably more of political advantage that he was going to have in that doing that route. So yeah, I've heard that plenty of times. Do I choose to believe it? Yeah, I mean, what can you not believe anymore when it comes to the government, the things they've done right in front of our faces, and the lies that they have fed us for so long? So it's not hard to believe that that could be true.
Appreciate it, Minnie. Holly, so with everything that we've said, everything we've read, everything we know, what are we celebrating? What are we truly, is this a real moment to celebrate, or is this a moment to step back and reassess what it is that we accept as a people?
So I think how I look at Juneteenth is like in two parts. So I look at it like to acknowledge that we still had brothers and sisters that were being treated like slaves, while there were some who had moved to the north and started moving on with their life, and they're just some because the way communication was that it wasn't communicated to let other people out, and so finally it was communicated. Now whether they live their best life after that, that's, you know, but that's kind of how I look at it. It's like, okay, at least somewhere in history it's documented that, all right, we are attempting to free all slaves. And now whether they end up in bondage in another form, you know, that's another separate part of history that we can discuss. But that's kind of how I look at it. And then a second piece, also just advocating to actually educate people on the actual history as it relates to African Americans in America. Because like you said, you only ever hear about the Emancipation Proclamation freeing everybody, but you don't ever hear about, no, there were still a ton of slaves in Texas that weren't free for 2 years after the fact. You don't ever hear about that. That's not in the history books, which are written by white people and tell that side of history. So that's how I look at Juneteenth, just to kind of, it's coming to the forefront to at least acknowledge there's a part of history that has been swept under the rug for so many, when it's like, no, it's a part of Black culture, Black history, like who we are. It's a part of American history. You can't ignore that. And it needs to be known.
Now Juneteenth was, the bill itself was established in 21, right? 2021.
Made it a federal holiday where it was like a government holiday was 2021. Yes. But yeah, people have been celebrating it for years. So it's been a holiday for a while, but federal holiday is a different.
Federal, yes, it is now seen at nationally for the most part and recognized, but because I think last year there were still some states that had some blowback and hold back on wanting whether or not to honor it, but since then have conceded and now honor Juneteenth as a federal holiday. One of the things I also wanted to ask you about, because this is in regards to Texas, the state in question that did this. There's also some blowback still from states like Texas, Oklahoma, Idaho, Iowa, Tennessee, just to name a few, in regards to teaching the history of
Yeah.
Juneteenth in classrooms. Now, Texas has a bill that it's more about critical race theory.
Yeah.
It's more, but it's the bill is more related. It's called the H939 or something like that
Mhm.
bill, where they basically say that it's not it's against um it's against the law for a teacher to require
Yeah.
students to um be, I guess, do research or read certain material. Now,
Mhm.
these are also guidelines and stipulations that are put in to other states that also have these things. So, in regards to that part of the policy, the part that still kind of doesn't want to address it, but gives you a holiday to celebrate. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
just celebrate your holiday and move on. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
don't ask any questions about how we got here or what's going on, why, or the what, just celebrate your holiday and keep going. What would you say to, people who may, like myself, because I do feel some type of way about that. I'm like, okay, well, this was this was the last state to establish it. You'll go down in history as being the ones that ended it, but yet you don't want that part of history to, I mean, how does that? So just I'm curious about that.
Oh, I just feel like, they just don't want to be a part of the solution, right? The solution to systemic racism. I mean, that's what it is. It's an undertone of racism. You're like, mind you, federal holiday, that's whatever political, I'm happy, whatever, that it's a federal holiday. I mean, not even all companies recognize it as you get a day off. I mean, you can take cultural PTO,
Yeah.
you could a cultural heritage PTO for something, but
Mhm.
I think there again, it's like you just see how ingrained these systemic issues are. It's like federally you get a holiday, but the state itself is fighting against even teaching kids, the next generations, about the history and saying, hey, we can do better if you actually knew what we did wrong in the first place.
Yeah.
And you just don't want to be about part of the solution. So I think that's how I look at it. It's like, you know, Texas, of course, was the last one, and you still don't want to be a part of the solution to solving these systemic issues. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Tyrone, uh, I'm gonna end the question, and unless Minnie wants to chime in after this, but this is gonna be the last question, and we're gonna move on to the next item on the list. But you know, Holly did a fairly good job of explaining, what we're celebrating and everything like that. But as a person who feels the obligation, for us to start using our full brains instead of using the piece of it, um, I ask you this: what can we do as individuals to find a comfortable median with, because I don't want everyone to just continue to be sheep and just continue to allow these scraps that are being thrown when you ordered a full course meal, but you get thrown scraps, and somehow that you come up with these ideas that we just got to wait a little longer. I feel as though a lot of people are still like that. I felt like I was like that a long time. What advice could you give to individuals on just trying to think a little outside of the box, maybe do some research, whatever the case may be, just to help a person register some of the things that are going on around them?
Yeah, I think the main thing is to yes, it's good to have this holiday. It's good to have the knowledge that comes with it, but as Holly was talking about earlier, uh, don't rest on your laurels. Like look at the pushback, the pushback culturally that we've gotten, whether it's the boogeyman of CRT, or like how all of a sudden woke is now a bad word, or cancel culture is a thing everybody's talking about. That's all direct pushback from the last 2 years of progress that was made in opening the eyes of your everyday person to the systemic issues of this country. When you can turn something into a culture war, and that's how you can get the kind of moderate idea people to just kind of follow along. So it's look at these as what they truly are, which is just white supremacy trying to keep its foothold, in the very real sense of the word, when it comes to how things are going into this country. So what can we do? I think that when you said comfortable median, I think the first thing we can do is to get rid of the word comfortable. Incremental change is comfortable. Getting a federal holiday is comfortable, and that's good. We can kind of continue on with our day-to-day lives and everything's fine. But that's ultimately, it's one step forward, 2 steps back, because yes, now we have Juneteenth, but now we're also going to have, we have laws being put on books in so many states. A lot of these states have things in common, like being in the South, being run by Republicans. And those laws are going to affect the way that our children are educated. And not only that, but you have a lot of parents in the school systems in those states and even around the country who are starting to get away from the idea of sending their kids to public school, and they're getting into homeschooling. Well, I don't have anything against homeschooling as an individual idea, but when you have a large segment of the population that's going to be homeschooled by their frankly racist parents, that's not a good thing, and it does not bode well for the next generation. So we have to be aware of these things. Community organizing, what we can do, community organizing, talk to each other, have these conversations with each other, talk about how to actually establish power. Black people do have power in this country. We have power. The most power that we have, unfortunately, because of the way our system is through money, through our purchasing power, our consumer. If Black folks as a whole moved in a certain direction when it came to capital or money, you could actually make really big change. We're talking general strikes. When the big way to make a change is to affect the money, affect the pockets of those who are in power. So start having the conversation of getting together and general striking, getting to a point where if you do start to get into that uncomfortable change, you have support within the community. If we're general striking, maybe you're out of work for a week or a month or a year or whatever, and they're trying to wait you out. Well, if you have a strong community and you have that community support, then they're going to have to wait a lot longer, and they're probably going to be the first ones to break because they need that constant money coming in. So a holiday like Juneteenth, it is sort of like a comfortable symbolic kind of victory. While yes, it's great, it also allows us to we're chilling, we're at work, we might go and buy a Juneteenth shirt, or Walmart try to put some Juneteenth ice cream out there, that kind of thing. And when in reality, all that does is just kind of pacify us for a little while. So
Right.
use the momentum of people being educated and people having their eyes open to really start to talk about how you make big change. I keep using the word general strike, and it's because we're not heading in a good direction in this country, especially when it comes to issues around race, issues around culture. And in order for things to really change, we're going to have to affect the money. So start to talk about it, start to read about organizing, unionizing, and making these kinds of moves, because it's going to be necessary.
Appreciate it, man. That was well said. I mean, basically what he's telling everybody out there, if you didn't understand it, and I'll simplify it for you, is unification. A unified front is the only front that will affect any change. You can keep right now the unified front for the most part, and this is not even a real legitimate unified front, but it's pockets of people. That's how Black people we congregate in pockets. And everybody else seems to be able to in that moment unify, but when it comes to us, we stay in our pockets. We'll unify with the people that are closest to us, and everybody else is omitted. And as long as we continue that, then these things that continue, these little scraps that I'm sorry that I have to use that terminology, but this is the terminology I'm using because I want people to understand that that is exactly what, in essence, you're taking. You're taking scraps, and you're celebrating scraps. Now, I'm not trying to discredit Juneteenth because I know it means personal things to people out there, but I want everybody out there to understand something, that just because you feel strongly about an issue or you feel strongly about a thing does not mean that it makes it any more important than another issue or any less important than another issue or another issue. My thing that I'm trying to get everybody to understand is you have to look past your feelings. You have to look where things are manifesting and what things are manifesting. Like Tyrone just pointed out, the current direction that our government and our society is going in, it looks very, very scary, guys. We're pulling up on $6 and $7 gas prices, and you know, a middle class that is starting to disintegrate. People, like there's stuff that we have to open our eyes to, and I really, these are the reasons we have these conversations on the Multiverse. It's not always fun and games, but these things do need to be talked about. Minnie, was there something you wanted to chime? Did you want to chime in real quick?
I think Tyrone got one thing to add right there. I can see him. I see his head. So go ahead, Tyrone. Tell him.
I appreciate it. You saw the wheels turning. Now I wanted to add to what you just said, Ty. Along with, you know, gas prices, real estate markets, stock markets and stuff, there is a sharp rise in white supremacist violence and white supremacist organizing. Just last week, or it might even been earlier this week. You can never, it's hard to keep track, but there were 31 white supremacists who were arrested, got caught in the back of a U-Haul, who were going to a pride demonstration, who were armed and going there to, you know, to be violent. This is all pushback on the same issue. So it's know that things, as we look for change, the pushback is going to be harder and harder. The more successful we are, the more the pushback is going to be. It's not, we're not going to be like, hey guys, is it cool if everything is if everything is equal and you know, we can have a level playing field? And nobody's going to be like, okay, cool. No, they're going to fight for it. So just wanted to throw that in there.
Appreciate it. Now, Minnie, go ahead.
If I can piggyback before, go ahead. I will say.
Did he freeze?
But can you hear me? No.
Now we can.
Yes, maybe.
Now
Okay.
we can.
So
Now we can.
Okay, so my
Oh, I think he froze.
Okay.
no. Yes.
Start over.
I'm gonna shut up. No, I'm just saying, use Juneteenth to use the black dollar for something. Buy from us. Only buy from us at Juneteenth. Teach somebody who doesn't know what the meaning of Juneteenth is, whether they're white or black. You know, use that for something. Make it mean something. Don't just let it be a federal holiday that we're not going to get paid for at work.
Thank you for that, Minnie. You're right. You're absolutely correct. Yeah, man, great points, guys, when it comes to this, because again, these are instances that I see happen all the time where they give us a little bit, we rejoice, we act like, you know, the race is over, and then systematically right after that, all hell breaks loose, and we start and all the abuse, all the other things that Tyrone mentioned about the U-Haul full of guys about to go and shoot up stuff. We've had mass shootings over the last month or so. Like, you know, it's an uptick in violence. There's an uptick in suicides, in, you know, depression rates. Mental health is at an all-time like high as far as like people just dealing with all type of different emotions and everything. So there's a lot to think about. But in the midst of all of those things that are going on, that is why it's so easy to pull the wool over so many's eyes. So so continue to celebrate Juneteenth. I'm not knocking anybody who feels the need to celebrate and go out and, you know, shoot fireworks or whatever it is that you have cookouts. I'm always down for a good cookout. Hit me up, I'll be there. But you know, like look a little deeper, guys. Sometimes just check on what you're looking at, man. But look, I know we've been deep enough for 45 minutes. So let's go ahead and have some fun talk for the last 15, man. Let's do that. You guys into some fun talk? Let's talk about must-watch TV, guys. It's that moment, man. we enjoy so much, man. We got a couple of shows, I'm sure familiar ones, maybe a couple of new ones. But we got to start this off, man. I think we're gonna be on this one every week until it stops, guys. But The Boys, oh my god. Like this, woo, this is that show. Holly, you just started season 2, so you haven't seen this season yet, but
almost all the way through season 2. I literally binged season 1, season 2. So.
Cool. So with that being said, give me an idea of what you like, or what's your opinion of the show so far?
So I actually like the story and the plot line and all the individual stories. I actually think it's really good and well thought out. I'm invested for sure. Like I was invested by like episode 1. I was invested. It is very gory for those who may have a very, easily queasy, hypersexual, but I like it. I think it's worthwhile in checking out. So yeah, that's my summary.
For sure.
I'm invested for sure. I'm like, I kind of like fiending to, like, after this to go and finish. I can get on season 3. It's like I've been reading ahead and I'm like, okay.
Oh, I can't wait
to get on it.
I especially can't wait for you to view episode 1 of season 3. I especially can't wait to hear what you got to say about that one.
Okay, yeah. No, I like at the part where like they drove the boat through the whale, and I was just like, this is a different show. I was like, this is a different show.
Yes, for sure. Tyrone, what are your thoughts on The Boys, man? Like this, I know you love it. So what's up, man? Tell the people about it.
Oh yeah, one of the best shows on TV. Probably the best superhero show that's ever been out. I'll say that it does a really good job of highlighting some of the biggest issues in our country and in our world. They exaggerate, obviously, but they're not exaggerating very much. So, while we don't have superpowered individuals running around, it's, pay attention to this show. You might actually, through analogy and through metaphor, you might learn a thing or two about, what's happening to us and why we are where we are.
Exactly. Yes. To your point, Lisa. Yes, we're really talented in that way, man. I don't know how we do it, but we do it every week. That's crazy. But yes, The Boys is I must agree with you, the best superhero show I've seen thus far. I would say Watchmen comes close. Just because I really love the writing on that show. Yeah. But The Boys is wow. Minnie, I gotta let you get in here and say something about The Boys.
Oh man, listen, I've been waiting all my life for a show like this. Okay, it felt like the show was made for me. All right, somebody who loves superhero stuff, but it has all the extra things that you would like in like real life situations. These are superheroes with real problems, even though they're hyper realism problems. Nobody really has those type of problems, but they make them human, kind of like you said, like Watchmen, things of that nature. Is something that people who love comic books have waited for forever when it comes to actual visual of it. We might have read comics when you see real heroes going through things and having personal problems, but to see it in the big screen or to see it in a show, it's a total different thing, and I love it.
You're muted, Ty.
Yeah, this show is out of its mind, but in a good way, in a
Yeah.
very, very good way. So if you have yet to have the opportunity to go and watch The Boys, it is streaming presently on Prime Video, Amazon Prime, right now for your viewing pleasure. So go check that out.
One last
We
quick thing to
also
add to The
have,
Boys. I'm sorry, I wanted to say Anthony Starr, the guy who plays Homelander, all-time great performance. That's it.
yes, Homelander is one of a kind. And I hate his guts, but
Yeah,
he is definitely one of a kind.
Yeah.
We also have some new news and some old news. New news is, Holly, you were able to go see Jurassic World, and I we'll just give you an opportunity to give your review on it, because we did say we were going to come back and review it.
Oh yeah,
So
we did.
I'd love to hear what you thought about Jurassic World.
So Jurassic Dominion basically is a good summary, I think, of all the movies, and I think gives a backstory, more context to the Jurassic Park's history and how Macy comes about, how Jurassic Park got started, and why there was this urge to create dinosaurs and in these parks and keep the genetic evolution going. So I felt like I was glad to get that backstory to it, and I like that with each character they kind of had some throwback, acknowledgement to whatever they were known for from the movies for each character. So when you saw it, you're like, oh, I remember that from this movie, and oh, I remember that when he did that in that movie. So I thought that was really good. So I mean, I know the ratings tend to be mixed on it, but I think if you just look at the franchise as a whole, I thought it was a good summary of the movies in general. But yeah, that's my opinion. I think it's a good movie to go see. Yeah.
I'd agree with that assessment. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great,
right,
but it was entertaining for sure. Minnie, I see you down here in the corner with this. What is this?
This Mr. RNA, right?
Yeah, you don't remember Mr. DNA
DNA, yeah.
from the first Jurassic Park, Mr. DNA? Nobody remember?
I remember.
That's the old school. He was teaching you how about the dinosaurs and all that stuff, and how they brought them back to life and all kinds of stuff. So this is a Funko Pop, Mr. DNA. Not that easy to find. It's a diamond collection. I keep it. You know, I keep it a little funky with the Funkos. But yeah, man. Definitely. Like, I haven't seen it yet, to be honest with you, but I would love to see that part of it. Like, if that's what the movie's about, whether it's great or not, that's great for me, because if you're a fan of the franchise, you want to know these things. You want to know what's the reason behind these things, because sometimes they leave loose ends, and it's been so long. And 1994 when the first one came out, so we haven't known why there was a reason for it since 1994. So we finally get to like close that loose end of, so that's what they were doing that shit for. It makes sense, or it doesn't make sense, whatever. So I'm happy for that, and I'm excited to watch. I'm gonna watch it tonight, so I'm excited, as you can see by me purchasing bullshit.
Yes, we can see, man. So if you were rating this movie, Holly, what would you give it out of 10?
Out of 10, I'll probably give it like a solid like 7. Probably solid 7. Yeah, a solid 7.
Solid 7 is a worth watch view.
Yeah, so it's definitely worth a watch. I think I can just see people being like, oh, it could have more action, or this could be, but I think the way they wrapped it up and adding more context to the overall history of Jurassic Park, you're like, oh, like it really, there's more to that Hammond and Lockwood backstory that we didn't really, they kind of touched on previously. You get more context to that. So
okay.
Yeah.
And also presently we have Miss Marvel airing every Wednesday on Disney Plus, along with another show that we'll get to very, very shortly. But I want to let this guy in here because he has raved and raved from the very beginning about this show. And I just want to hear what is he so excited about? What does he like so much? What is it you like so much there, Tyrone?
Yeah, for me, this show hits all the notes. It's done so well. The lead is a 14, 15, 16-ish year old high school girl. So, it's going to feel like a teen show without a doubt. And they lean into that. They lean into it hard. But it's a beautiful show, shot well, written well. The cast is brilliant. The family dynamic in it is amazing. One of the things that I thought of after watching the second episode was that the show makes me wonder about like looking back when we weren't looking for when we weren't so concerned with inclusivity, when we weren't so concerned with giving people platforms and voices. I wonder about all the good art that we missed during that time because people weren't getting the opportunities that they deserve because the show is just so damn good and it's done so well that like I'm just like, how we might have missed this if they tried to make it 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So watch it. It's great.
Okay.
I would like to add the family dynamic. Like if you've ever been around a Middle Eastern family, especially a Middle Eastern family who has kids born in America, it is to a T. Like close as heck as you can get. I've had friends who were Middle Eastern growing up. I've dated girls who were Middle Eastern growing up, and seeing the family dynamic, how they keep things. There's the old way of doing things and the way they're trying to keep it, even though they're in America. And all the I don't want to say vices or things that they might see as haram in America, which is a sin. So it's just very. So somebody who's been in it and seen it, it's just very fun to see it in real life and see how close they really got to like a real conversation between a mom and a daughter, and her kind of keep her old ways. It's good, man. It's well written. Like he was saying, it's well written.
Facts. Me and Holly probably shared about the same. I don't think it's a bad show. I definitely want to make that very clear. But this is very much for the boppers. This is for a lighter age. It's a lighter show.
In Houston that means something else, right? I'm just letting you know. In Houston that means something totally different.
Oh, I don't know what that. I'm not from Houston, but I could have said the whole thing, teeny boppers. If that's there you go. Just so we can be specific, because I don't know what boppers are in Houston. I would hate to be calling the boppers to come get me. Yeah. So it's a good show. It's a good show, and it's worth the watch. Also, and I'm gonna go through these really quick. Also, we have Obi-Wan. I haven't seen this week's episode, but I've been a little under. I haven't been as impressed as I thought I would be with Obi-Wan thus far. But it's not a bad show. I don't want to allude to it being a bad show. I just have some small concerns, but we'll talk about that on Saturday on the New Blurred Order. I think that conversation will be a little bit more detailed and a little more open. Also, this is the last one, guys, and then we'll get on up out of here. The Umbrella Academy is back. This is one of my favorite shows on Netflix. If you have not seen this show, I would suggest you watch it. There's a lot going on this show. There's a lot of personalities, a lot to deal with. I'll get a quick review from you guys on that, and then we'll get up out of here. Holly, have you ever watched the Umbrella Academy?
I think just like a couple episodes, and I liked it. I just didn't spend the rest of the time investing in the show. But it's not because I don't want to. It's just there's a lot of shows I need to watch. So just finding time. But no, I think it's got a great concept, and from what I saw, I would definitely continue to watch it when I make time for it.
Yes. Well, make time because the new season will be starting next week on the 22nd. So Tyrone, I know you've seen the Umbrella Academy. What do you think about this show?
Yeah, just in a few words, super weird, super fun. More superheroes. That's what they are. But yeah, the show is just it's crazy. It's got its own little style in a time right now that is very, very, I wouldn't say oversaturated, but very heavily saturated with superhero shows. I do think Umbrella Academy sets itself apart.
I could agree. I could definitely agree. The cast is definitely different. The cast of superheroes, that is. Minnie, you want to go ahead and chime in on Umbrella Academy?
All right, real quick, because I know we're about to go. Beautiful show. I love the show. I just want to see what they do with my man's character. If you know, he went to a transition, and now so how will they develop that character? How will they not explain it, but how are they going to touch that subject? I hope they actually go within the subject and not run away from it and have some weird explanation of why he looks different.
Mhm.
So I just want to see what they do with that. I want to see where they go with that character and how would they still keep it how it was before and force him to wear like wigs or something like that, or are they gonna, what are they gonna do with the character? That's what I'm excited about, really, honestly.
You're muted.
Yeah, cool, man. Appreciate it. So listen, anybody got any final thoughts, anything that they want to talk about, anything you want to tell people you got coming up, anything like that?
Catch us next week. Catch us next week, 6:30 Wednesday. Yeah, see what's up.
All right. Anybody else? Holly, Minnie, any upcoming event?
Well, you check my Instagram, Mini Baby Grogu. I got shows from here all the way to Monday, so I'm booked all weekend. So Mini Baby Grogu, check that out on Instagram or TikTok, whatever. Shout out to Tay Tatted Up for doing my hair. I feel very LA-ish right now. I feel like I'm about to just roll up on the homies. So thank you for that, and love you guys. I really do. I apologize for this kind of thing won't happen again, but thank y'all for letting me still be a part of it, even though I'm inside of a car driving around.
Apologies are not necessary, brother. We just glad to have you here. And yes, Tay tatted up. Shout out to you because she laced your boy too. I mean, she girl got skills. I put it out there. She definitely got skills. So shout out to you, Tay. Also, I want to shout out a pod called TBD. I want to shout out Financial Griot. Definitely want to give a hard shout out to the New Blurred Order, which you can find me and Tyrone Thornhill and Baby Grogu in the comment section, just killing it this Saturday and every Saturday at 10 a.m. Please make sure you go and follow. So please understand where you can get the best content from our girl Holly Noon as she interviews all the important people in the world. That's what she does. Let me see. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody because that's what we do here. Anime Sunday podcast. Go follow them. Also our girl Patrice at what is Patrice's Spiritual Lab podcast. Make sure you go follow her as well. Final thoughts, just again, people. The time for just learning, I mean, the social media and the internet is not just for watching other people's stories and seeing what they do every day in life. You can also use it to find answers to questions you may or may not have had. Sometimes you do a little research and you'll be surprised what you come up with. So with that being said, we love you here at the Multiverse, and we love everybody in the comment section. Thank you, everyone who shows support, comes through and shows us love. If you're following us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and maybe like our videos if you want to. If you're on Instagram, make sure you follow us at the MulTYversed. That is MulTY versed. And make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. But until next week, we will see you. And on behalf of myself, Bad Ty Bricks, Holly Noon, Mini Baby Grogu, and Tyrone Thornhill, we're out. Or maybe not. I do this every week. But either way, Okay, we're gonna do this again. That was such a flawless. That was gonna be so flawless if I could have did it. Yo, one of these days I'm gonna get it. Anyway, we're out of here, man.